forward and to be more stronger, inshallah.
Next to call on the Vice President was the EU Charge d'Affaires to the Gambia. The top EU diplomat told journalists that her meeting with the Vice President was to formally extend an invitation for the upcoming conference to be organized by her office.
It's about the fight against violence on women around the world. And violence on women can take all kinds of ways. I mean, you have husbands beating their wives, not enough access to work, early marriage, and all kinds of other violence that are put on women. And it is an international day that is celebrated around the world, and I know that women's rights is one of the major priority in the Gambia in your development strategy, and that's why I organized this also here, and I wanted to get the participation of women leaders in the Gambia.
The officials of the ECOWAS Electricity Regulatory Authority were the last to be granted audience by the Vice President, Her Excellency Madam Jai Sedi. And shortly after meeting with her, the Director General of PURA, Abdoulaye Job, shed more light on their meeting.
So today we paid a courtesy call to the Vice President, that is Herrera, and the council members and members of Herrera, to say a big thank you to the people, the government of the Gambia, for accepting to host the fourth forum here in the Gambia. And we have seen during the opening ceremony the statements that have been made by the various speakers and the commitment that the government of the Gambia has in relation to ensuring that there is a regional electricity market. And so we just came as a group to say thank you to the President through the Vice President.
Aissatou Badiane Sarr, Grts.
Gambia Tourism Board is among the growing number of public enterprises that have successfully sailed through the annual scrutiny of the audited accounts and financial statements of public bodies. The board was given a clean bill of health after legislators went through GTB's annual report and financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2012. Mama J reports.
Fairly compliant last year, and this time around, the Gambia Tourism Board scored a record 86% substantially compliant, a performance that was examined by the Gambia Public Procurement Authority, the institution charged with the responsibility of regulating the hospitality industry, is the latest to be scrutinized by members of the Public Accounts and Public Enterprises Committees of the National Assembly. The body was mandated by government through an Act of Parliament to promote the Smiling Coast as a tourist destination. According to officials, the idea of restructuring the Gambia Tourism Authority into the Gambia Tourism Board was to achieve a tourism industry that is more robust, dynamic and capable of contributing significantly to the country's GDP by the year 2020 in line with government's development objectives. The board chairman of the Gambia Tourism Board, Bakari Keba Jame, recognized the tourism sector's contribution to the country's socio-economic development. The Director General of the Gambia Tourism Board, Benjamin Roberts, gave an overview of the management and activity report of the GT Board for the year ended 31st December 2012. Mr. Roberts further highlighted his institution's principal activities of marketing and promoting Destination Gambia in all aspects of tourism, as well as regulate standards within the industry.
One of our key focus during the course of 2012 was industry-wide consultations. We thought that since the Gambia Tourism Board was implemented to help improve on tourism, there was a need for us to consult extensively with our stakeholders to have a better understanding of the challenges confronting the industry.
The Director of Finance's intervention gave a clear view of the financial position of the GT Board for the year under review, showing financial performance and cash flow of the company in accordance with the accounting principles of the GT Board Act 2011.
The total income of the board has increased by 12.5% when compared to 2011, because in 2011 The board has a total income of 55 million as compared to 61.5 in 2012.
Augustus Prom, a chartered certified accountant, audited the account of the GT board. The auditing firm passed its judgment after assessing the financial statement and in the process determined whether the accounting policies and rules were adhered to. After the formal procedures that are usually observed during this session, the chair of the House then gave the green light for the lawmakers to start the debates.
Note 12, administrative expenses. There is a debt recovery expenses of 43,517. Wanted to know from the finance man whether that is the cost incurred to recover $2 million.
I want you to clarify the last part of your response, which says that GTB has been paying an annual rental fee of $350,000 and the board intends to build its head office. I mean, it's rather vague. Do you intend to keep the rent for the other years to build your own office, or what does that mean?
Coming to your management response, it's not really enough. I think we need more detailed response to that.
Speaker after speaker rose to make their contributions in what they believe could make the GT board beef up its activities in an effort to making Destination Gambia a tourist hub in Africa.
Page 11 of note 3 of the accounts. The trade debtors amount of 14 million is high, and I would like to know how much has been recovered since.
I understand, I might be wrong, whether it is GTB or the Fisheries Ministry that has actually confiscated all the fishing gears of these youths with the pretext that they want to keep the beaches clean.
The member for Basse, Honorable Magazi, urged the management of the GTB to explore and promote more tourist attraction centers in rural Gambia. Subject matter specialists also had their take on the issue. It was now the turn of the GT board officials to answer to the concerns and comments raised by the deputies.
It's not an issue of us not wanting to support fishing or supporting the initiatives of the youths who are involved in fishing. The concern we had is the fact that government has identified fish landing areas across the length and breadth of this country.
The GT board management were commended for what was termed their professionalism in responding to the issues raised.
We have noted the polite nature of your responses, both to the auditor's observations and to our questions. Some of the questions and interventions were very probing, challenging, but notwithstanding, you responded, in a very professional manner.
After long hours of scrutiny, deputies finally adopted the activity report and financial statements of the GT board for the year ended 31st December 2012. Mama J, GRTS.
Still on the home front, as a result of the somewhat unseasonal downpours being experienced in some parts of the country, the Department of Agriculture is again urging those affected by the development to spread or dry all harvested cereals stocked in the open. A news release from the said department states that groundnuts harvested and stocked or heaped should also be spread under the sun for thorough drying to minimize the risk of aflatoxin infection. Women leaders, village heads, religious leaders, and women of reproductive age recently gathered under the aegis of Grts for a 3-day sensitization forum. We have details in this report by GRTS's Edna Musubaji.
Women's rights NGO, whose aim is to protect the sexual and reproductive health rights of women and children against harmful traditional practices. They also engage the citizenry to stand up against gender-based violence, hence this 3-day sensitization. The Executive Director, Grts, Dr. Aissatou Touré, applauded the government for supporting the cause towards the advancement of Gambian women by ratifying conventions, bills and protocols, but went on to say that there is still much to be done, and therefore urged the women to make sure that these bills are passed into laws, and this, she said, can only be done if more women are voted into the National Assembly. Honorable Sidya Jata, chairperson Gamco Trap, called on women to stand up and join the